Yes, and on the emails that Councilmember Knight, when he sent them to us, he also courtesy copied Winetta. So now it's just coming up, you know, why isn't legal involved? I wanted to point that out. Also, the CVB and RBA budgets were emailed to everybody. I personally went out and asked some questions that were never answered. I was never reached out to for these questions or answered on my questions. And the other thing I want to state is RBA hired some additional people this last week. So, you know, a budget isn't even approved and RBA's hired additional people. And so that's my concerns. We seem to push forward with the same agenda of the last two councils, and I think there's changes that need to be made. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Gabler.
I would like to first address just what Councilmember Collins just said. The RBA did not hire new people. They added new board members. So those are all volunteer positions, just so we're clear on that. And in regard to what Councilmember Miller said, I think that when we had our workup session, we head nodded, as we might say, to push forward something like 2.5. So the council has already kind of given direction, even if it was 5-4, to move forward in this direction. We have seen several documents to try to work towards something that we can all agree upon. So I do think it's time for this document to move to legal to be vetted. But again, I would also like to see a document that is more aligned with the executive branch. So we have a couple documents to look at. We can move forward efficiently and hopefully pass the budget in a short amount of time. That's all.
Okay. Councilmember Martin.
I just have to add on. I actually support that approach. You know, it's easy. It's always easy in hindsight to be critical of previous councils, and the system has worked okay the last few years. Do I think that there's some changes that need to be made? Yes, I do. But I think it needs to be looked at from a broader perspective. And trying to one-off these things when we have bigger picture issues here, I honestly don't think that this will necessarily change the way the city functions next year. And to say that you are trying to implement the will of the voters, I actually find that a little bit offensive, that you think you know what the will of the voters was when it isn't specified in the charter. It doesn't say this in the charter. So I guess I'm with Councilmember Gabler. I'm open to having this conversation, but I would like as we move forward, we only have a few days left before we take our first vote. I would like to have a dual track. I would also like to see have an alternative available if when this comes back through legal, it doesn't meet our needs. And so I would like to see both prepared for next week.
Okay, Councilmember Collins.
I would venture to say the will of the voters in Southeast is I've had town halls, I've attended forums, I went to the stormwater meeting last night. I get a lot of input via emails, and I believe there's quite a few council members on here that really reached out to the voters, and then there's some that I think that are out of touch with their voters. So, and as far as not hiring RBA, basically they have expanded their staff, so which means they're going to grow in additional issues. And I believe that we need to start looking at cutting spending. People do not have the money that most of the council members think they have. They're living check to check. They don't have jobs. And therefore, I think we should move ahead with this and have something by Tuesday.
Okay. Councilmember Snyder.
I would say yes, I would like something to compare, so I would take this 2.5 and let Winetta and staff do their wonder on it. And then if I understood Councilmember Martin to also have another kind of a budget to compare. Is that what you were saying, Jan?
Councilmember Martin.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that we have the one that Laura was referring to, that includes both the ordinance together, like we've done in the past, that it could have some changes to that, but it would just be a second option for us to look at on Monday.
Okay, Councilmember Knight.
Yeah, two items. Number one, I'd like to remind everybody that, I took the time out to go out and craft 4 options in addition to this, that, I placed either hand-delivered to all of you, or those that I couldn't get to, I placed in your box with a personal note. So what you're asking for, Councilwoman Gabler, is already been crafted and is there. There is an option 1 that is business as usual. There's an option 2 that has the 19 departments in there, but no programs. The option 3 had the 19 departments and the programs. The option 4 had 2 separate ordinances. 2.5, and the people that I did hear back from, 2.5 seemed to be something that we could go forward with. You wanted a separate parallel path? There are 4 other parallel paths out there that I spent a whole weekend putting together on a lot of my personal time. So, I'm getting a little frustrated here. The other comment is, changing gears here, well, actually 2 more comments. One, I agree with Councilwoman Martin that, we should formally invite the RBA and the CVB to come talk to us. I'm not part of the agenda setting committee, though, I only know what's on the agenda when I see the agenda planner in the meetings. Let me make a suggestion that we not wait till Tuesday, because Tuesday we got to make a vote. We'd have another work session on Monday. And so if you're only getting the information on Tuesday and then you got to vote 5 minutes later, you're not making an informed decision. So I would recommend that, we do what Ms. Newman asked. My calendar is wide open tomorrow. I'd be happy to do that. Anybody else wants to join me, or if you want 2 other people, that's fine also. I'd say that we bring this back to us on Monday. And I'll just make a last comment. On the will of the people, or the intent of the charter, I was borrowing those lines from Mr. Florzak when he stood up and told us that we can't have 2 amendments because we're violating the intent of the people on taking away the line item veto. There's nothing in the charter that gives them the line item veto. But when we say, along those same lines, using his same logic, I think I'm perfectly in my place to say what the intent of the people is when when the executive branch artificially creates 5 appropriation departments to give them the latitude to make this 402 pages irrelevant or immaterial.
Okay, Councilmember Gabler.
First of all, let me say that I do appreciate the work that you went to, Councilmember Knight. And my only, reason for trying to move forward the dual track in a different way is because of the comments of the Chief of Staff. And I do want to make sure that it is vetted through legal and it is something that the executive branch can agree upon. And I do understand it was very similar to what we did last year, but when I hear words like conflict of city charter, and I just want to make sure that it is something that everybody can collaborate on and work together.
Okay. Councilmember Pico.
Yeah, I support this 2.5, absolutely. I think there's, I understand concerns raised by the executive branch. I just happen to disagree with them because I agree with Councilmember Knight that when you have 5 appropriation ordinances, that whole briefing book and all the work that went into preparing all those individual department budgets and the presentations here mean absolutely nothing. And they can move it wherever they want to if you only have 5. So I've worked in 35 years within the federal branch where that was the level of detail. There is no executive head authority under his programs to move something that wasn't authorized by Congress. It doesn't take much to come over here to council and say, we need to move this money from here to there. That's not a major problem. I don't see that as a showstopper. So, I think we need to move forward. It just provides the same level of detail in the budget as was presented in the budget briefing book. That seems very reasonable and logical to me. I absolutely stand behind Councilmember Knight in that. I think moving forward to sort out whatever details need to be sorted out and press forward. There are 4 options sitting there on the table. The draft ordinances are already prepared. They can be finalized and worked, and we can come out and we make a decision on Tuesday.
Okay, Councilmember Miller.